Hey friends, welcome to WP Roundtable episode 192. My name is Kyle Maurer. I do WordPress stuff here in Jackson, Michigan. And today I've got Sally Gradle on the show. Sally, how are you today?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Doing quite well and excited about our conversation. I think there's a lot of fun stuff to cover today. Sally's been doing a lot of WordPress stuff, serving clients, building and fixing websites, and is a WordPress expert of sorts, and has a lot of interesting insight to share. We're going to dive into that real shortly and understand how you got here and what it is that you do in WordPress. Before we do, it's time to share our quick picks of the week. We start every show this way by just relaying something we've encountered that we think is worthy of sharing with the world. And I came across this thing that was shared in some Slack channel, and I actually didn't have a lot of context for it, but somebody was like, hey, this is cool. And it's this enormous, hundreds of pages long PDF that I'm like gradually poring over, called What is Working in Affiliate Marketing in 2019. Now, affiliate marketing isn't everything that we do. We have an affiliate marketing product, and we have an affiliate program for all of our products. But I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the sophisticated affiliate programs that are out there. But this has been quite eye-opening to read some of the most successful affiliate marketers openly answering questions and writing at length about what has been working for them lately. Now, in this kind of an industry, things change very quickly. And so these types of annual reports are actually useful because so much changes in such a brief period of time. There are people in here talking about their the pros and cons of using white hat versus black hat in their marketing campaigns. And the overwhelming majority of what is being discussed by these successful affiliate marketers is not directly applicable to me, but still very interesting. I think it's not very directly applicable to most of us, but it is really eye-opening to read what some of these people are doing and finding a lot of success with, and why they're doing this in 2019. They are pretty on the ball with the cutting edge tactics, which are getting results. So I think it's worthy of reading. This resource was shared with me in a Slack channel and originally attributed to the STM forum, stmforum.com. You might be able to find it there, or I can share a link to this PDF somewhere if someone asks me. Anyway, that's worth sharing. Sally, what have you got?
What have I got? I have got, I think, a charge that I'm feeling as a member of the WordPress community to be much more of an advocate and an educator for WordPress.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, my training is officially as a math teacher.
Yeah.
It's actually what I went to school to do. So I'm always going to teach somebody. You know, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach a man a fish, he'll sit in a boat and drink beer. Wait, no, something like that.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
I
I'm an autodidact myself, so I'm always looking to learn new things. And so if I can teach somebody else how to do something cool, I enjoy that.
Okay.
But I think to have good WordPress products, you have to teach people good practices.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Do you mind if we hop in the seat of our DeLorean a little bit and go back to a point at which your career was not involving the web or WordPress in any way, most likely, and you had a vision for your future, and you were trying to take your first steps down a career path, the first one that you really thought was potentially your long-term long-term vision. Can you take us back to that time and describe what you wanted to do and how you took your first steps?
Yes. So a long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I thought I was going to be a math teacher. And I was just convinced that was what I was going to do. And I went to school for it. And I got all the way up to the semester before my student teaching. And I said, I don't want to do this.
Wow.
And what I didn't want to do, if I could just be left alone to teach algebra and trigonometry and calculus all day, I would love that. But it was all the bureaucracy, which I'm really, really bad at, and that kind of thing that I felt like was going to get in the way of teaching and would frustrate me. So I said, you know what? I already know I'm not going to be happy doing this. So let's do something else.
Wow.
So, and oddly,
Okay.
my mother retired as a teacher. She taught science, and my daughter now is a math teacher. So it's like
That is funny.
the black sheep, I guess. I know. Isn't that funny?
That is quite surprising.
And I know. And my daughter is she's just super successful as it. Luckily, she inherited my husband's personality. And so she can just let all that kind of stuff roll off that I take really personally. So yeah, she can do that. But anyway, so I decided, yeah, I really don't want to do that. So I was, working in retail and stuff while I was in college. And so I said, okay, I'll just continue doing that. And I got married, and then we had kids, and I did jobs here and there. And then when the kids got a little older, I started doing office admin kind of jobs, and rose up and was doing an office manager kinds of things. But I kept running into tech. I was the one that was patient enough to get certified as a Microsoft Office power user. And I was the one who was patient enough to figure out what the problem was and to follow the logic and to talk to the helpline and all that stuff. And I kept running into it. And then my boss said, well, I want you to build this little database in Access. And that was the first thing that I did that I just could not figure out on my own. I just could not figure out relational databases on my own. So I took a class, and really got into the back end of it.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
So, I took a class in that, and I'm like, I just love this. Wow. I love this.
Yeah.
I love all the tech stuff. This is where I should have been. And in the early and mid 80s, girls really weren't encouraged to be in the tech space. We weren't invited to play D&D. I would have loved it, but we weren't invited.
Wow.
Girls don't want to do that. Yeah, we do. Pro tip, everybody. Yeah, we do. So anyway, I just loved it. I just loved everything about it. And so anytime I got any opportunity to get my fingers into code and do things, I just did.
Wow. So
then fast forward a few more years, kids are in college. My husband and I are both working because we have kids in college and all that. You have all that to look forward to. It's awesome.
I'm so excited.
Awesome. Enjoy every step. Enjoy every step. They're all awesome. But anyway, so we did that. And then my son actually got a scholarship. And so we weren't as dependent on my income for his schooling. And I said, you know what? I really want to leave what I'm doing. I wasn't happy anymore doing just office manager because I was stuck. I felt like I couldn't advance anymore. And I said, I really want to try this web building stuff. And I had taken some classes online and did that through Treehouse. I don't know if you guys or if you're familiar with Treehouse. So I took some classes online, HTML, CSS, and all that, and then stumbled onto this course in WordPress. And I thought, well, I've heard of that. Let's check that out. And I did, and that was it. And now here we are.
Here we are. Well, I don't know. There's some missing pieces here, but let's dig into that.
Sure. What would you like to know?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the fascination with tech. I mean, surely you say you got bumping into tech, but at that point, this is late in the game when you're doing these office jobs. Like you have many jobs before that, and an education and a personal life, and tech was not a significant interest of yours.
It kind of was. My husband actually works in IT. And so, we had a personal computer just almost from the beginning. And And back then you bought your own memory and added your own memory. So I had no problem opening up a PC and putting memory chips in and changing out video cards and all that kind of stuff. So it was always around me, I guess. It was
Yeah.
always around me. One of my hobbies actually is knitting, which some of the very first computers in the history of man were knitting machines.
Wow. Is that right?
Think about it. Knitting is code.
Yeah.
Do these steps in this order this many times. And repeat.
Absolutely. Yep. That's so true.
It's code.
Yeah.
It's all around me all the time.
Loops. Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. You make me think about I've had repeated conversations with some people. Like I have a lot of younger siblings and they are all discerning their career late in life. And we have conversations about what they might want to do. And I keep coming back to this point where they may have encounter something or be advised towards something and say that just doesn't sound that interesting to me. And I keep repeating that you can't really know for sure until you've tried it. And like, for example, a sibling goes to study technology stuff in college and doesn't have a great experience there in their classes. And I have told them it's not the same as when you're working professionally. And this sounds a little like the story you tell where you became the most passionate when you encountered it in a work context, when there was a real purpose that you understood behind the project, and you were able to break through it and create something special with technology. And that was that moment where you're like this is fun and special, and I could do this, right?
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
I feel like you reinvent yourself, and you should reinvent yourself from time to time, either professionally or personally or both. I feel like I had, I married young. I was 21 when we got married. And so I had the student and young working person life for a while. And then I got to have the wife and mother life. And if there is any way one parent can stay home and do the parent thing, I advise people to do it. If there's any way you can possibly do it. I got that privilege for a few years, and I'm so grateful I did.
Mm.
I'm so grateful I did. And I know the word privilege is thrown around a lot, and it's kind of a hot button word right now, but it was a privilege to get to do that. So if there's any way anybody listening can do that, please do, even for a couple of years. It's awesome. But so anyway, so I did that, and then I was the working mom and professional person, and now I've kind of reinvented myself again to the freelancer who has theoretically some control over what I do.
Yeah.
So and I'm in a different field that kind of evolved out of what I was doing before.
Yeah. Now you're answering only to yourself. That's quite an adjustment. I know that running your own small business is just so different from the environments that you would have worked in before, I'm sure. And I'm curious about the adjustment to kind of like running the business. Did this feel natural and comfortable and come easily to you, or did you feel a little bit overwhelmed at times and a lot of learning involved?
Yes, to all of it. I actually had another business a few years ago doing office support for other small businesses. So in that one, I learned a lot of things. And this was really before. It's a lot easier now to be self-employed and to have an office in your home or in a co-working space or something like that, because the technology exists now that did not exist then, or was not as mature now, and as it is not as mature then as it is now, and will be just in a couple of years. I'm really excited for where things are going and what's happening. So learning a lot about running a business, yes, and I'm still learning that, and I'm grateful to be in a few groups live and Slack and things like that, where we all kind of share ideas about, what do you guys think about this? And what kind of insurance do you use? And how do you do your billing? And it's just, the little everyday things of, you have your work and you have the business. And to be able to share little tips with each other like that is huge.
Yeah.
And so there's always some learning to do.
Okay. How about getting customers? Like you took the interest in technology, but if you're running a small business, solo like yourself, where you're responsible for getting the customers, like where are they coming from, and like how did you go about getting them in the first place?
Sure. I started out working with some of the online freelancer services, which is all right. I know a lot of people can work it and work it really well. For me, it was a good way to build a portfolio and to get some experience in some real world projects and things like that. So I did that for a while. I don't do it anymore. And I really made it a goal to work the networking thing. So, going to meetups, business, just general business meetups, and WordPress ones specifically. I belong to a co-working space, like I mentioned, and so there are lots of different people that are working there. So I do some work for other members of the co-working space, or we've just gotten to know each other and can network that way and do a lot of word of mouth, things like that. I've also gotten some word of mouth from existing clients. They'll recommend me to someone else. And so I think the most important thing is building those relationships.
Okay.
Taking the time. I probably move more slowly in business development than some people would be comfortable with. But I find that if I take the time to build the relationship and understand what the person that I'm talking to needs, it serves me and them a lot better.
Do you primarily work with local clients?
Yeah, primarily I do, but also since I've kind of plugged into different Slack channels and stuff, there are some of us who work together who've only met at WordCamps in person.
Right. And where are you based?
I'm outside Chicago. I'm about 40 miles straight west of Chicago, right? I call it the perfect place to live. We're right on the edge of the suburbs. And so, 15 minutes west and you're in the cornfields, and an hour east and you're in the city and everything it has to offer. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It is cool.
What are some of the parts of this job that you like the most? Specific things, since you're like involved in the full scope, it becomes difficult to figure it out. Like the worst and the best, you're involved from the beginning relationship with the customer, all the discussion with them, negotiating, making the sale and the contract, and the defining the project, and actual implementation of the work that needs to get done, and following up with the client and getting paid and moving on in the future, and just every step of that process, you're there. So pick out some of the parts in that process, if you could, that you just like really enjoy. And if you want to throw on some that you really kind of sometimes wish you didn't have to do, that'd also be interesting.
Sure. I really enjoy the creative process beginning to end. So sitting down initially and talking with the client about what face they're trying to present, what goals they're trying to accomplish. Sometimes that part is a little hard, especially if they don't really have it defined well for themselves. And you really have to ask the questions, okay, why do you want that graphic on there? Or why is it important for you to have that video on there? Sometimes the answer is, well, I just thought it looks cool, which is perfectly valid. Cool is valid. Sometimes it's, well, somebody said you have to have it. And coming from the diverse background that I do, I worked a lot with small manufacturers prior to this, and especially in lean manufacturing. And one of the main questions you ask there is, what is your purpose? What are you trying to accomplish? Why are you changing this? Why are you making this choice? What are you trying to get to? And so getting people to think about that kind of thing is really kind of exciting, because you really dig into what they really want, and that makes it easier for me to say, you know what, tell me what you want, and that's what it will be. But you have to tell me what you want. So,
Sure.
yeah, that gets a little hard sometimes to define that, but it's also kind of, once you've got it, it's the satisfaction of doing a hard job kind of thing. So my very favorite part is when what the customer's envisioning and what I have built come together, and they see that and they're like, yes, that is exactly what I wanted to say, or that's exactly what I wanted to show. And so that's probably the most fun part of it. The least fun part of it is bookkeeping. I hate bookkeeping. I really, really do. I really, really do.
Yeah.
It's just, it's one of those things like, I don't know, like laundry or something. You just have to do it because you have to do it. And just get it done.
Sure.
So before we started, when you were asking me, how's your Monday going? I said, I'm doing usual Monday things. That's one of the usual Monday things. It's like, do it first and get it over with and just be done.
I've never had a guest who said, "Oh, the bookkeeping. Yeah, that's what I look forward to." Nobody.
Yeah, I even know accountants that are not crazy about the bookkeeping. Even though that's really what they do. They get excited about, it. I feel like we do, but they get excited about working within the process, not, the bookkeeping.
Right. One of the things that's interesting to talk about, so how many years have you been serving clients and taking client projects, paid client projects for website projects?
Officially I think we come up on 3 years now.
Okay.
That I've been doing it full time. That
Sure.
this is my only job.
Yeah, that's a good long time. And I'm curious what has changed in terms of your pricing strategy in that time period.
Hello, precious. Oh, that's so sweet.
Sorry.
No worries. This is the fun of working from home. You just never know. I'm surprised my neighbor hasn't decided to mow his lawn. I'm sitting here, the window's open a little bit because it's got some nice weather.
It's a beautiful day, right?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
I don't know. It's probably not a good question.
3 years.
Yeah.
Where were we?
Yeah. I'm curious about changes over time. I always think that is so telling. So telling. And if you created something when you started, you had a vision, an idea what you thought your value was and the people you want to serve. And now 3 years later, it's probably close to that, but not exactly. And those differences are some of the most interesting things because they're informed by what you discovered along the way. You've tried things and they didn't work. You discovered things you didn't know about. So what are some of the business changes you have made in those 3 years?
The business changes I've made, the biggest one was, and continues to be, continual refinement of my contract. And have a contract. Have a contract. That way everybody has signed it and you can go back and say, this is what we agreed to. And they have the power too. Your client then also has the power to say, this is what we agreed to. Right. It's powerful for both sides. So continual refinement of that. I have increased my pricing over time. Not just, general increases because price of everything goes up, but increasing what I charge, because every project I do, I learn more skills. And every challenge that I meet, I have one client, is one of my largest ones. I say, you know what? One of the things that I love about you and is most frustrating about you is you are constantly challenging me. And that is, they'll come up with something they want to do, some functionality they want or some thing they want to accomplish. And I have to say, okay, let's figure out how to do that. Or figure out if that's possible, or figure out in what way we can accomplish whatever your end goal, whatever your purpose is.
Yeah.
So I have increased my pricing. I find that when you hit a certain pricing structure, you price yourself out of the people that are just looking for really basic things. And over time, I have found that those projects you charge the least for tend to be the most work.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. Yes.
You're right.
They tend to be the most work. They tend to be the most demanding.
And least appreciated.
And least appreciated. Yes. Yes. So I've kind of tried to price myself out of that bracket.
Okay.
Which, given our conversation, before we started about, the people who want to do a website themselves and are told that, yes, it's easy. Yes and no. Yes and no.
Right. So we were talking a little bit before about starting on the difficulty of getting your website going on your own, using a tool like WordPress, and easy and simple. These are words that are used in those conversations, and then in the promotion of this platform that we love and use. But there's more to it, and we have experience enough to know that those are relative terms, and you, I think, have a lot of commentary on maybe the language that we use to describe the value of the software that we use, something like WordPress. Do you think that it is consistently used appropriately?
I'm really not sure, because we're in such a place with WordPress right now with the development of the block editor and all that, which, as an aside, I'm personally coming to really enjoy. It's got its challenges, and it is not perfect, and it's not done, and we know that. We know it's not done. It's new, and like every new thing, it takes a while to work it out and things like that. But I'm really coming to enjoy it. But and the whole idea, again, is to make it easier for people to say, I want a photo here, and I want this to be next to this and this, and to make it more visual. So we're getting there. Is it easy? No. I heard someone else say, WordPress is not easy to set up, but it's easy to use.
Okay.
And I feel like that's true. There are things that are easy to set up, and you can get a really great website spun up pretty quickly, especially on the .com platform, and especially on the free .com platform, because you have pretty tight guardrails, which is true of a lot of the other services that are available out there. You got some pretty tight guardrails, but you can get a really nice looking site up and going. And then from there, I think this is where, especially as a community, it's kind of beholden to all of us to teach each other the good practices.
Right.
So that we can move forward and encourage the folks that are working with the .com sites to learn how much they can do with the .com sites, as much as we do the folks that are working with the .org sites, to learn as much as we can. Like WordCamps, for instance, those are for those of us who work in the .com, in the .org space. I feel like it's not really for the .com space.
Really?
Yeah, I really do. And this is just as a pretty recent attendee of WordCamps. I haven't been going to them since they began. I've only been going to them for about 3 years. But I feel like the aim is at the developers and designers working in the .org space, and not helping folks that are in the .com space. And I don't know that if you could pull off a whole WordCamp for people working in .com, but to have those same kind of energy and excitement and resources available for people working on .com sites as .org, I think would serve everyone.
Right. Yeah. Once upon a time, there was
So
a blog-oriented.com centric event, and I'm
yeah,
struggling to recall what it was called. Anyway, no matter.
yeah,
But it was a thing. But I think your commentary is on point and interesting that um, these are WordPress events, but they are kind of they can potentially be exclusive in some
yeah.
sense, because WordPress users of .com are users of WordPress, and they may
Mhm.
acknowledge that and be enthusiastic about that, and be using it to its full extent, and still feel excluded at WordCamps. This is this an opportunity for improvement for us?
I think it is. I think it is because that we've gone so far to keep the WordCamps accessible as far as like the pricing. I mean, $40
Yeah.
typically
Hmm.
to attend a WordCamp. Come on, how do
Hmm.
you not do that?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So there have been so many ways in which we've tried to keep it accessible that this might be the point where we need to improve a little bit in the things that are offered. And I don't know if you need 2 days dedicated or 3 days. Some of them are really long. I don't know that you need that much time dedicated to the whole just a .com event, but maybe to have more things offered that
Yeah.
that could apply to both.
Okay.
And maybe some of us need to write some blog posts. Maybe I've
Maybe.
actually been planning out my next few blog posts. And, well, maybe I'm feeling strong about that. Maybe this is what I need to do.
Yeah. Maybe it is.
Maybe some of us need to say, yeah,
Speak up. Yeah.
to say, you know what, let's help out the people that are trying to make nice websites on the .com as well as the .org.
Sure. Why
That
not?
high tide lifts all the boats.
Yeah. Why not? I wonder about on the topic of simplicity. What are the consequences of us miscommunicating the simplicity of the software? And if think about, there are a lot of things that it could potentially be problematic if the ease of use were overemphasized initially, because then potentially people could be undertaking something they're not well equipped to do. Maybe they could, I mean, it could be some dangerous power tool, and it could be presented in a way like, you can do this yourself, just anybody can do it. And well, really not anybody could do it, and that could be dangerous. And
Yeah.
this is coming from someone. We have a product in our catalog with easy in the name of the product, and we have another product in the catalog with simple in the name, the actual name of the product. These are very real questions that we are wrestling with. Uh, do we do ourselves and our users a disservice by leading with the ease of use? And what are the consequences if it's actually not as easy as people expect it to be?
Yeah, that's there are a lot of layers to that. I think we could spend weeks unpacking this. Um, the danger there is we set people up for failure, and then they feel really frustrated. And I'm not techie, get right back to that I'm not techie question when I point out, okay, we all learned how to use VCRs how long ago, and now we all use DVRs, and we have smartphones and MP3 players, and so tech is all around us. You're more tech than you think. You just took the time to learn it.
Right.
Okay. But yeah, at the same time, by saying, oh, this is simple, anyone can do it. Well, yeah, anyone can, but you have to take a little time to learn it.
Mhm.
So we should probably be a little more upfront that, you may need to read some documentation to do this, or you're going to have to go through a settings setup,
Mm.
just, make people understand it's not turn it on and go,
Mm.
so probably be more transparent about explaining that it's easy in that you don't have to write the code, but it's not so easy that you just turn it on and it goes. You do have to do a little setup. The analogy I like is like gardening, because I'm a big gardener. grow vegetables and things. And yeah, anyone can garden. Yeah, anyone can plant seeds and water and grow things. But to make it really go, there's a lot of learning. And every year you learn something new, and you talk to other gardeners and they have techniques that they've tried and have worked and have not worked. And, it's the same kind of thing. Yes, It's easy, but there's also a lot to it.
Okay.
So probably more, to answer your question, more transparency about the number of steps involved.
Okay.
To do something.
So imagine you're in charge of the project and guiding the resources available to put them where they're most needed. And you have these two choices. You can go in one of two directions because you recognize we're not quite there. We're saying something that is pretty easy. In reality, it's not quite that easy. There's a lot more to it. We don't want to mislead people. And so do you think more resources should be put over towards changing that language so that it is communicated more realistically? Like, it's kind of easy. It's maybe in better language than that. Like, fully disclosing up front, there's a lot of steps involved. This will be a lot of responsibility. You will have to learn things in this process, blah, 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 with the obvious result of reducing the number of people using the software because that will intimidate them. But the net win of getting only users who are well suited, or at least a greater ratio of more well suited users. And then in the other case, we could be focusing on just trying to make it easier and try and make it match the language that we're using. This is maybe more work. I don't know if that's true, but should we just be emphasizing, like, we say it's easy, we need to work harder to make it that easy, because that's really the important thing. It needs to be easy. And this could be a good win for getting more of those users. This could maybe be to the detriment of existing users who already know how to use it and maybe aren't getting the resources towards advancing the sophistication of the platform they're using. Right. But there are kind of these two focuses. Maybe that's more of just like a mindset. Which do you think is like, if you had to choose where to focus, where would you go?
If I had to choose where to focus, I would lean more towards the first approach, and not necessarily saying this is easy, sort of, but you're going to have to learn something, but phrase it more like, you don't have to learn code, and we're going to step you through the process, but understand there's a process. And then make sure your documentation is really, really good. I think about assembling IKEA furniture.
Yeah, of course.
Which, we're all familiar with that. Is assembling, and I shouldn't say that just that brand, but knockdown furniture. Assembling those things. And in order to make it easy, all of the instructions are just graphics. They're just pictures of the things to do.
Yeah.
Which, if you just settle down and read it, step through it step by step, you get it done. I think I myself included step into this thing. I can just open it, look at it, I'll be done in 10 minutes. So, I have to be realistic. Okay, this is going to take you a little time and you really need to pay attention. But if you pay attention and walk with us, you're going to get this done and you're going to be so proud of yourself at the end. And I think that's the biggest thing, is encouraging people. You can do this. I will help you through it. And you're going to be really happy with the result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the approach I would, in broad strokes, that's the approach I would advocate.
Sounds like a good approach. Yeah.
Well, probably goes back to teaching, that my training as a teacher. Nobody's dumb. They just don't have the skills. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be so happy at the end.
It's totally true. You're right. I like that. I like thinking about it in those terms.
Good.
Yeah. You would have made a great teacher, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. I like to think I would.
Mm,
I don't do bureaucracy very well.
yeah.
Probably why I'm self-employed. Ah.
Yeah. Huh. Do you think that this would come to mind again if you get to a point where you find yourself going, I don't know, working with larger businesses as clients? Bureaucracy does become a thing once again when you're taking on large
Yeah,
scale customers.
it does. But in some ways, especially if you're the contractor, especially if you have a contract, you can say, you know what, I was hired to do these 5 things. And in order to do these 5 things, as we outlined in our agreement, I need this from you.
Mhm.
And so it's very, very clear. It's very, very clear. As the contractor, you don't have to fight those internal battles that they're having. You just kind of say, you know what, if we want to hit this deadline, I need these things by this.
Yeah.
And you're just very upfront and not that the onus is all on them, but you can take the approach of how can I help you
Right.
get this done? Is there something I can help you do? If so, I'll be glad to do it. If I just need to wait, fine. I will do that too.
Mhm.
But yeah, you don't really have to get into the internal battles because it doesn't really involve
Right.
you.
I know. I hear you. Um, those were lessons that we had to learn when I was doing consulting as well. It's not the same.
Yes.
The businesses just don't
Yes.
operate in the same way when you start working with
Yeah.
department heads instead of the small business owner,
Yes.
and so many more
But you look at
stakeholders
it,
and
who is your
committees and so
customer?
forth. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you have to look at who is your customer and maybe the person who you're directly interacting with does have to fight those battles and understanding that they do and finding ways that you can support them as they have to fight that battle will only serve you well because it makes it easier for the two of you to work together. And and I even will ask the question if I'm working with someone who I know is reporting to a committee or reporting to other people, I will ask the question, is there someone else who is going to have input on this that we need to talk to? Because they don't always think about that.
Mhm.
And I'm very big on fighting people working in silos because that never works well for anybody.
Mhm.
You get your whole vertical thing done, and this person over here says, that actually makes 3 times as much work for me. Can we not do that? And you haven't thought about it, and you've already built this thing, and now you have to go back and rebuild.
Mhm.
So I do always try to ask those questions like, okay, we are creating these reports and it's sending it over to this person. Is this format useful for them? Or do we need to send it in a different format?
Mhm.
So
Sure.
that's one of my big things is don't work in a silo. Understand you work for a whole company and lots of people are affected by the choices we're going to make here.
Okay. Good advice. Um, what are some of the things that you do outside of work?
Things I do outside of work. I mentioned a couple of them. I knit. I'm a big knitter, and I garden in the warm
Mhm.
weather. Um, I'm finding new ways to exercise. I find I have run out of cartilage in my knees,
Wow.
and so I can't run anymore. Because I said that one time, and one of my friends said, "What? Like it's a commodity?" I
Yeah.
said, "Well, evidently, because I don't have any left."
Now I'm scared. It's just gonna run out?
It's
Oh,
just gonna run
no.
out.
Ah,
No, it's just,
shoot.
over time, the body wears out. So I'm looking for new ways to exercise. My husband and I have recently gotten into biking.
Okay.
So we're trying to do those kinds of things and, just keep your body active.
Mhm. So important.
But the knitting and gardening take up a lot of my time.
Mm.
They really do. I like to cook. We've had some food allergies develop in our family lately, so reworking old recipes and learning new ways to do things. I do a lot of that.
Mm. Sure. Wow. Okay.
So yeah.
One of the things that I didn't really do a good job of asking about is the actual business that you're running. We never mentioned the name of it. And if you would, can you just take a minute in case anyone's curious to tell us a little bit about now, like the
Certainly.
profile of the customer that you serve and the services you provide?
Certainly. The name of the company is Blue Orchid Web Development. And if you're interested later, I'll tell you the story of how I got to that name. I'm a freelance web developer. I'm always really careful to say that. I am not an artist. I don't have any art training. If you need design, like you need someone to create a logo or something like that for you, I'm not the person for that. I know a lot of people who do, and I'll happily direct you. But if you already have your logo, I know lots of ways to use it. But to create the logo originally, no. So I'm much more developer. I can make a beautiful site, but I can't make art. So that's
Okay.
the definition there. I'm a generalist. I haven't really niched down because there are too many things I'm interested in. But I've build sites for churches and e-commerce and online brochure type sites. And yeah, I don't have a particular industry I like. I'm enjoying them all. The main thing is I like to help people get their face out there. Whatever the face of their business is, I like to help them present that in the best way possible and make it easy for them to communicate with their audience and their audience to communicate with them.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. I appreciate the opportunity to share it.
Our time together is winding down a little bit.
It
And
is. It is.
can you tell us about so you live west of Chicago. I don't know if there's going to be
Yes.
a very local WordCamp to you this year, but what is on your calendar to attend this year?
Yeah. My calendar to attend this year, I'm still deciding if I want to go to WordCamp US because it's in St. Louis, which is only about 5 hours
That's
from
not
me.
bad.
So it's
Not
an
bad.
easy drive. I went to last year in Nashville. That was about 8 hours. So
Okay.
that's about the longest I like to drive.
Sure.
Yeah, that's really all I've got on my agenda right now as far as WordPress events. I attend the monthly there's the WordPress Naperville meetup.
Okay.
It meets out here. So I attend that one pretty regularly. And that's really all I've got on my agenda right now.
Oh, okay. Nice and
Yeah.
easy. Should be a
Nice and easy.
stress-free
Yeah.
year for you. Do you ever present at events like this?
So funny. Not at WordCamps, no. I don't know what I would say. I don't know that I have anything to say yet. Maybe next year. Maybe if I get this WordPress.com get the .com education rolling, maybe I'll have something to say at that point. I'm feeling strongly pulled to do that. So you can hold me accountable to that. Check back with me in 3 months and see what I've done.
So many people find it difficult to look at what they bring and come up with something they feel is worth contributing. And so I hear that sort of thing a lot. Like, I don't know what I would talk about. I feel like I'm listening and I could think of a dozen things. We just talked about a whole bunch of things. You're a wealth of knowledge in a lot of areas with no shortage of
Thank you.
things worthy of sharing with large audiences who would be thankful to receive the information. And you like have this natural teaching ability. Like there's nothing standing in your way from doing something like that and helping other people and the way that we've all been helped for so long by others. That's my thoughts that you didn't ask for, but you got them anyway.
I appreciate them. I appreciate you sharing them.
Do you have any good suggestions for guests that I should have on this show in the future?
Good suggestions for guests. I don't know. You've had such good ones.
Oh, gee. Yeah, that's true.
You have. You know what? There are a lot of folks here in the Chicago area. There really are that are doing some real good work and really have some good insights and are they're people I admire. Do you want names right now?
If you've got them, sure. Yeah, go on record and
If I've
recommend
got 'em.
somebody.
I'm not remember. I'm okay. So at this point, I try not to rely on my memory to just go from memory too much. So if you've already had these folks as guests, I apologize. Or maybe you need to have them again. Maybe it's time.
Sure.
Mike Hale is one that I really admire. Clara Parkinson
Okay.
is another here in the Chicago area that I really admire. Who else is out here? Brian Gardner's out here too. I can't remember if he's been on or not.
Oh no, I haven't had Brian. No, we haven't.
Yeah,
talked in
reach out to
person.
Brian.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who else is in the Chicago area? I'm trying to think. Oh, I'm blanking on who the organizers of WordPress Chicago or of WordCamp Chicago.
There have been a lot. There have been quite a few.
Yeah,
some of them don't live in Chicago
the ones
anymore.
The last couple of years.
Yeah,
Right.
Heather
That's true.
and Heather and Ryan.
Yes.
Yep. Both of whom have been on the show. Actually, I'm not sure if Ryan has or not. I think they both have. I think so. I've interviewed a lot of people from Chicago, because I spent a lot of time in that community as well. It was my first WordCamp like 6 years ago or something, and it's one of the better WordPress communities in the country, I think, that I've encountered.
It really is.
It's really good.
Really is. I don't know if they're going to have time, but the three that just started the Women in WP podcast. Now they're running their own podcast, so they may not have time. But Tracy Apps and Amy Messon and I just blanked on her name. I'm so embarrassed. Oh no, I'm spreading. I'm sorry.
Amanda or no, Angela.
No, Angela. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are three ladies I really admire, especially in the WordPress space, and I like what they have to say and their leadership.
Mm-hmm. As do I.
So, have you had Tara Clays? I remember if Tara's been on.
Sure. Yep.
Again, she's got a podcast, so maybe she doesn't have time. I don't know. She and Liam have their podcast together. So yeah, it seems that everybody's having a podcast, and people can say, "Are you going to have a podcast?" And I don't know. I don't know if I have time. The space seems to be pretty well covered by people I admire, so I may just let them do it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, if you're getting a lot of value out of it, and you just be a guest a few times and contribute in that fashion, and all podcasts have a life cycle. There's going to be a point where this show and several others don't exist anymore, and a day could come where you feel like now's the time. I've got some stuff I want to share, and I feel like there's a space that's not well covered. Because we don't all need to jump into it, but I feel like that time will come where we'll feel like it's right for each of us.
I feel like if it does come, it'll be a topic that is not WordPress necessarily. Sarah and Bud Dunn just started their podcast about relationships, which is not tech. It's personal.
Yeah. Confident couples. So, check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have I plugged everyone I know yet? I know you've got a couple that are going.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we're going to be out in that area. I think we have a team retreat in maybe the Rockford area. Yeah. Coming up later this year.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
So me and most of my colleagues will be there, and I take what excuses I can to travel over to the Windy City myself. Yeah. Anyway, this has been a lot of fun.
I'm not a Chicagoan by birth, but I enjoy it. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes, it has been fun.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Sally, for taking your Monday and spending it with me. And I know it's probably about time for you to wrap up your day. It's about time for me to go help get dinner ready. I look forward to bumping into you at an upcoming event. We'll see when it is. We both are here in the Midwest. I'm sure our paths will cross before long. If you make it to WordCamp US, at least we'll probably see each other there. Anyway, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.